Hey everybody, welcome to the Crit House. I'm Jeff Larson. So today's episode is, I think I start this every episode saying this is a little bit different. The photographer that we were hoping to review was unable to join us, and so at the last minute, I have decided to do what I ask all the photographers who come on this show do, which is to show their work and to put themselves up for criticism and review. So a project that I've been working on for a couple of years, which had been until this recording happened, which was called Liminal Spaces. And you'll see why in a minute that is no longer the case. But this is a project that I've been working on, and our fantastic reviewers who are back with us once again are Thomas Jackson, who, if you are not familiar with his work, I urge you to go and check out his work. He is an installation artist, and some of the most beautiful photography and installations you'll see. And Jane Szabo, who is based in California, and she is a fine art photographer as well, and her work is quite impressive. And the two of them were kind enough to tell me a little bit about my work and some directions that I might want to go with a project that I hadn't really shown to an awful lot of people. So here is that conversation with Jane and Thomas and my formally titled work called Liminal Spaces. So with all that being said, would you be interested in taking a look at some of the work that I have done for, I don't even know if it's called a fine art project.
Sure.
Can I show you some stuff? Is that okay? All right. So let me just give you a brief explanation. This is not a COVID thing that I worked on. So I have a history of a street photographer, but this started during COVID when there weren't people on the street, and I was out looking for things to take pictures of, and I started to think about early in COVID, all these businesses are going to close. You know, these neighborhood businesses where people work and they eat and shop and do their stuff in the neighborhoods, they're all gonna shut down. And I started looking into these businesses that were closing, and that's what I started to take pictures of, is the business, and then trying to show the neighborhood that's around. So in this picture, you see inside the business, and you see the things that are on the outside as well, to try to get a sense of what's going on around in the neighborhood. I mean, that's basically it. It is a way to run away from street photography and to see something else that I hadn't been looking at before. And it was a question of driving around. Go ahead, sorry.
When I look at these, I want to see them in color, but I think that's probably a good thing. Like, it's making me work harder as I look at them to see all the sort of different gradients and tones that I'm imagining. So I think it's probably firing up my imagination more to see them in black and white as opposed to in color.
Well,
yeah, it would be all over the map if we were in color. Yeah. Sorry, Jane, go ahead.
I agree. I think the layering is exceptional. And I think it's interesting because you're coming from your perspective that you still talk about it like it's street photography, which I kind of say that it's not. I wasn't thinking about COVID when I looked at this, but I was very aware of the emptiness of the spaces, the indoor coming outdoors, the lack of people. But to me, this is about humanity and not about architecture. And there is life in these, even if it's void. But to me, it's not street photography anymore, because I don't know whether you're doing the double exposure in camera or on Photoshop, and I don't really care. But there's so much more depth and content here than if it was just a one-off straight shot. And I think they're really interesting.
They are all in camera.
Right? You're shooting, yeah. I mean, I love the inside outside feeling of them. you're an insider and you're shut out at the same time. Some of them must be shot on a tripod, yeah.
Nope, all handheld.
Oh, wow, okay.
All handheld, usually with a little point and shoot Ricoh.
Huh.
And is it double exposure or is it the reflections in the glass that I'm seeing?
They're all reflections in the glass.
Okay.
Yeah,
And where are we?
these are all generally in the metro Boston area. This is in Brookline, a suburb. This is Revere, which is north of the city. Cambridge, Lowell. This is north of the city, and this is in Alston. So they're all in the metro
That looks
Boston
like a
area.
night photograph, but it's not.
It is morning sunrise.
Morning sun. Wow.
Well,
I mean, that's another thing about it being black and white, is that I can't pin it down like that, which I like. I mean, I'm sure if it was color, I'd be able to tell that that was natural light as opposed to, you know, a street light shining through that opening.
So I've never
I
shown
think-
these as a group. Oh, Jane, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that your ability to get these reflections and to get them, you know, flattened into a plane is really quite remarkable. That it's not so much about the glass. The layering is phenomenal.
Also, your ability to get all the lines geometrically perfect, handheld, is impressive as well.
Well, there is a little Photoshop in that process. to be fully honest. Well, so I guess one of the questions is again, I mean, I did this for a long period of time where there just weren't people on the street, but I don't know what to do with it. You know, when one of the things is, I mean, these have shown. You know, I've submitted them to shows in a couple of different places, and it's been accepted into a group shows here and there. But I don't know how to make it a package and to make it something that would be a unit. So like when you have a project, what do you do with something like this? Where do you go with it? Or am I asking a silly question again?
Well, I mean, again, it's what are your ideas behind it? What are you trying to say would be the first question I would ask, and that would probably that would tell me where it goes next. You know, are you looking for what venue does it fit in, or are you looking for what does this influence you to make the next body of work? And because I'm a fine artist, I'm going to push you to keep going in this direction and to learn from this experience of breaking out of. What I like about these is they're not so straightforward. You know, many street images are, you immediately understand what you're looking at. And
Yes.
what I love about these is that I don't understand what I'm looking at. And I think that you have mastered that confusion, and I encourage you to keep going with it.
Okay, that's good to know. Because
Are these about? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, because I still shoot this. I still, when I'm out and about and I see something that's of interest, I'll still pull the camera out and I'll still take pictures of it. But I have not been working on them as I had before people came back out on the streets. So I'm glad to hear that you think it's worthwhile pursuing.
I do, and there is a magic to the emptiness. I mean, the lack of people is a big part of the work. Would I like it as much if there was somebody standing on the street in every shot? Maybe not so much. The solitude, the quietness is really compelling.
There's also a total lack of, almost complete lack of, well, there's a sign, but words, advertisements. Are there any automobiles? I mean, it's
rather
almost like
timeless. It's kind of timeless, isn't it? You know,
it's almost like a movie set, like that Twilight Zone episode.
Well,
the guy finds himself completely alone.
Like
That's one of the
the
reasons
curve,
why it was good to do during COVID, because you didn't have any cars and you didn't have people. So you could kind of have it be empty like this.
I mean, the curb, they're very surreal. The curb going right through the doorway. I mean, it's just the way that you're lining them up is really, really well done.
I mean, I guess you covered this at the beginning already. We're talking about COVID, but I mean, are these about the places and the landscapes, or are they about you? Or are they
Oh,
about,
that's a big question. I mean, I think of them about places and landscapes and about time. I sort of think about this as where we are in history right now. And Jane, to your point, I mean, I think that I probably need to come up with some more cohesive, tight, like an artist statement, so that there's some clarity. I need to think about that more. But it's about place. But I also think it's about where we are right now in history. I think there are a lot of businesses and storefronts that are empty and closed, and there's a reason for that because of what's going on in this world right now. So
I
it's go ahead.
I was just going to say, and sorry for interrupting, but writing the artist statement now, I think would be super helpful for you and a
Hmm.
good exercise. And don't feel bad that you didn't write that statement yet, because sometimes the work informs as you make it what it becomes about. And then you write the statement and then you understand the work better. And then that informs you how to continue with making more work. But I think really getting a firm grip on what you're trying to say with these images will help you know how to promote it, and will also help you know how to continue the project or where it segues into the next project.
Well, and I think that's my takeaway
I have,
from this.
I have a quibble though.
Oh,
And the title is Liminal Spaces, right?
that is what I called it, because and I'll let you go with the quibble, but I thought of it as as a place in between. There was inside and outside, but the photographs were sort of in between the two of
I mean,
them.
that's totally apt, but I just feel like that word is,
I hate it too. I hate it too.
it needs to be stricken.
Yes.
That word.
See,
I mean, it's a great
Why?
word,
Yeah.
but
because
but
it's
Is,
in
is
every single artist statement for the last 10 years. It got so overused. I also cringed when I read it.
okay.
And that's because we come from a fine art world and we read these statements. And if I read it one more time, it's just been
I
overused.
mean,
And
I have the work that I've been doing, like the project that I had a name for, I basically ended in 2018, and all the work I've done since then, I can't think of what to call it. I mean, it's really bad for me. You know, I'm struggling, but it's incredibly difficult to it's very difficult for me to come up with a title that feels like the right title, but that also doesn't feel too mannered or cliched or pretentious or whatever. It's very challenging.
Well, but
and
that
liminal,
so go
yeah,
ahead.
liminal does describe exactly what you're doing, but it's just become insert art word here in the art speak dialogue, and
But so
you
but so
find
that's
some
fascinating to me. So, and I interrupted you, and I'm so sorry about doing that. That's fascinating to me because that's the word is completely new to me, and I'm new to the art world, and I would not have known that. I thought I thought I discovered this word and started using it like that was the first person on earth to use it. I was not aware of
go start reading some art statements online and you'll find it.
that. Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you for your input on my work and your thoughts about critique as well. It's such an important thing. For those viewers out there, if you're still with us here, if you want to participate in the Crit House, please reach out to us on thecrithouse.com. There's a form you can fill out to participate. Doesn't matter what style or form or genre of photographer you do. We want to try to expand and talk about as many different styles as we can. And so please let us know. Thank you to Thomas and to Jane for helping us out in the reviews this last couple of weeks. It's been great, both learning about your work. I will be linking to videos from both of them so you can learn more about their work. Both of them are fantastic. Thomas's stuff is amazing, and so is Jane's. Please take a look at the videos. And thank you all for watching The Crit House.